When I look at IdentityForce versus Lifelock, it's pretty clear that one of them is the better choice for most of us trying to protect ourselves and our families from identity theft. While both come from brands that we know and trust, in my experience, IdentityForce is a better solution. It's not a landslide. Lifelock has some edges over IdentityForce, but where it really matters, IdentityForce decisively takes the upper hand. Whichever company you choose for identity theft protection, make sure to check out the video description here for my latest recommendations and links to any deals that I know of. Whether you've been a victim before or you're just getting ahead of the game, getting identity theft protection is a smart long-term plan. And of the 7 identity theft protection companies I've used, IdentityForce is a top performer when it comes to fraud resolution and monitoring, including dark web scans. While I think Aura is arguably a bit more comprehensive and usually a better deal all things considered, IdentityForce covers pretty much all the bases. I can't quite say the same for LifeLock. Let's put them head to head and compare IdentityForce with LifeLock on a deeper level so that you can decide for yourself which identity theft protection solution comes out on top. I want to start off by saying that both of these companies use a tiered plan structure, meaning that you don't get all the benefits on all the plans you use. By contrast with Aura and Complete ID, all their plans include everything. The price you pay only changes depending on the number of people you want to cover. Now, IdentityForce isn't so bad in this regard. They only have 2 tiers, the Ultra Secure and the Ultra Secure Plus credit. At least they bundled it up neatly. Basically, what you're not getting on their standard Ultra Secure plan is the credit monitoring. On the other hand, LifeLock really takes the tiered plan structure for a ride. You get a mere taste of the credit monitoring on their baseline standard plan, a bit more of their mid-tier advantage plan, and finally all of it is unlocked on their top-tier Ultimate Plus plan. And with LifeLock, they spread many of the different benefits across all the pricing tiers, not just credit monitoring. They're not the only company that does this, and I can understand why they do it. If you even want a few of the benefits that aren't included in the baseline plan, it's pretty likely that you'll have to upgrade all the way to the top. From a revenue standpoint, I'm sure the marketing team at LifeLock made their bosses very proud. So these tiered structures make it a little difficult to compare functionality across the brands. I'm going to do my best, but please bear with me. So we'll start with monitoring, and monitoring all starts with inputting the personal information that you want either IdentityForce or LifeLock to look for when performing their scans. Now they're quite similar in the types of personal information that they allow you to monitor. The only difference I see is that LifeLock allows you to monitor gamer tags, which IdentityForce doesn't, and IdentityForce allows you to monitor a passport number, which LifeLock doesn't. The other thing that always comes up is that LifeLock only allows you to monitor 5 email addresses, which isn't quite enough for me, and that'll come back into play when we look at dark web monitoring. Once you've added your personal information, IdentityForce and LifeLock will start performing their scans, and there are all different types that they perform. The first is public web scanning and opt-out requests, and neither of them do an awesome job with this like you get with Aura and IdentityGuard, although LifeLock does marginally better than IdentityForce in this case. Basically, LifeLock will scan the public web, and if they find your personal information available with data brokers, you'll be able to see what's there, and they'll tell you how you can submit opt-out requests. If you want LifeLock to submit the opt-out requests for you, you can do that, but you have to pay a bit extra. The reason I like Aura and IdentityGuard better here is that they do it proactively for you as part of the plan. And with IdentityForce, they give you links to all sorts of databases where you can submit opt-out requests, but they're not actually doing scans to see where your information is actually available as far as I can tell, and they're definitely not submitting opt-out requests for you. Another place where LifeLock wins is that all of their plans include utility account monitoring. So if someone tries to open an electric service in your name, for example, you'll get an alert. I don't see this from IdentityForce at all. And of course with credit monitoring, you don't get anything at all with IdentityForce unless you get the upgraded plan. And with LifeLock's standard plan, you're only getting 1 bureau monitoring. We'll talk quite a bit more about credit monitoring in a bit, as it is important. At its simplest, you get notifications if an identity thief tries to open a line of credit in your name, like a credit card or a loan of some sort. But you can also get access to quite a bit more, as you'll see shortly. Now in terms of public records monitoring, both companies provide change of address monitoring on all their plans, so if someone redirects your mail with the USPS to access your bills, pay stubs, whatever it may be, you'll get an alert for that. And both will send you an alert if someone puts your name down for a crime they've committed. Although with LifeLock, you do need at least the mid-tier advantage plan for that. With IdentityForce, you get payday loan monitoring, so you'll get an alert if an identity thief uses your SSN for short-term cash loans. And with LifeLock's mid-tier advantage plan or higher, you get a payday loan lock, which will prevent them from happening in the first place. And finally, with LifeLock's top-tier Ultimate Plus plan, you get home title monitoring. So if an identity thief tries to add their name to your home deed, you'll get an alert for that. This isn't available from IdentityForce as far as I can tell. But of course, what everybody is most interested in is the dark web monitoring. And we'll put this to the test by seeing what IdentityForce and LifeLock turn up for my personal information on the dark web later in this video. For now, I want to dive a bit deeper into credit monitoring. It's something that I actually enjoy more than a typical human probably should. And I promise you I'm a typical human.
I don't think ChatGPT can do video yet.
As I mentioned earlier, with IdentityForce, you're not getting getting any credit monitoring at all unless you upgrade to their Ultra Secure Plus credit plan, in which case you get 3 bureau credit monitoring from Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. 3 bureau monitoring is going to give you more thorough and responsive protection than 1 bureau because the different bureaus aren't necessarily always in sync. While LifeLock's standard plan includes 1 bureau credit monitoring, it's not until you upgrade to their Ultimate Plus plan that you unlock the 3 bureau monitoring. Once you've upgraded to include credit monitoring with IdentityForce, you also get credit reports and Vantage scores from all 3 bureaus on a quarterly basis, as well as monthly credit score updates from 1 bureau. Upgrading to LifeLock's mid-tier Advantage plan gives you access to monthly Vantage scores and reports from 1 bureau on a monthly basis, but again, if you want reports and scores from all 3 bureaus, you need the Ultimate Plus plan. Worth noting is that reports and scores from all 3 bureaus are only updated annually on LifeLock's Ultimate Plus plan, although from 1 bureau they are updated daily. And last, LifeLock offers a convenient credit lock so you can prevent unwanted inquiries into your credit file with the click of a button. You don't get this with IdentityForce. But just for reference, with Aura and Complete ID, you get 3 bureau credit monitoring, monthly Vantage scores, and annual credit reports from all 3 bureaus, and a credit lock on all their plans. Then there's transaction monitoring, which allows you to link bank accounts, credit cards, and investment accounts so you can monitor all your financial activity in one place. You can even set transaction thresholds so you'll get an alert if there are any charges over a certain dollar amount that you set. This helps stay on top of fraudulent charges and resolve them quickly. So that's the majority of the monitoring offerings. Now let's get into everyone's favorite part, the dark web monitoring. I monitor the same personal information across all the identity theft protection solutions that I use. Since LifeLock only allows me to monitor 5 email addresses and I usually monitor 6, I leave one out that doesn't turn up any hits with any of the other companies. Lucky for me, my dark web hits are limited to leaked login credentials from various websites. Obviously I prefer if they weren't there, but at least I don't have any more sensitive personal information out in the open. Although as you'll see here, the stakes can still get uncomfortably high with leaked login credentials. IdentityForce returns a total of 20 dark web alerts for my personal information, and of those 20, 10 are unique. The unique hits are most of the results of data breaches at websites and apps that I've used. Many of them are the big ones like Adobe, MySpace, and Dropbox. But most concerning is that the login for one of my Gmail accounts is in there. I'm not quite sure how that got out. My guess would be they figured it out with credential stuffing. But once they have your Gmail, if you think about it, they could get access to an awful lot. Luckily, I changed that password years ago. The non-unique hits are just repeat instances of the same login credentials posted in different corners of the dark web, typically as part of breach compilations to make life a little bit easier for the identity thieves and cyber pirates among us. And how does LifeLock compare? LifeLock finds a total of 8 dark web hits for my personal information. 8! All of them are unique hits, but they're not even finding my leaked Gmail credentials. Of the 7 identity theft protection solutions I've used, 5 of them find more than LifeLock, and all of those 5 find my leaked Gmail credentials. So yeah, this alone turns the tides in favor of IdentityForce, but we still have to cover fraud resolution. LifeLock comes out swinging with up to $3 million in coverage per adult and up to $1,050,000 per child if you opt for their top-tier Ultimate Plus plan for a family with kids. This covers 2 adults and 5 children. You might be inclined to do the quick math and say, whoa, that's $11,250,000 in coverage! But if you read the asterisks, or technically it would be 3 daggers, the $1 million in coverage for lawyers and experts for each up to is collective. So really, if my math is correct, it's up to $5,250,000 in total coverage if you buy the most expensive plan LifeLock has to offer. It's definitely more coverage total than IdentityForce offers, which is $1 million in identity theft insurance, and that's a pretty standard number as a minimum. And it's even slightly more than you get with Aura, which is up to $1 million in identity theft insurance per adult, or up to $5 million on their family plan. But notice that LifeLock allots the coverage into up to $1 million in lawyers and experts, up to $1 million in stolen fund reimbursement per adult or $25,000 per child, and up to $1 million in personal expense reimbursement per adult or $25,000 per child on the Ultimate Plus plan for a family with kids. And that coverage drops off fast as you move down to their Advantage and Standard plans. In terms of how they actually help you in the event that you're a victim of identity theft, IdentityForce's plans include white glove fraud restoration for any family member of your household. Beyond the typical restoration assistance, they do all the heavy lifting to save you tons of time and headaches. Things like making calls, filling out paperwork, and grinding through the fine print, all to ultimately restore your identity to the way that it was before the incident. LifeLock offers US-based restoration specialists. That's it. And you have to get through it first, which would be fine, but LifeLock's support is terrible. The last thing you want is to feel like you're talking to the support team from some run-of-the-mill internet provider on the day that an identity thief has made off with your life savings. Like most of the other identity theft protection companies out there, IdentityForce's support team is fantastic. So I guess the question is, do you want to buy expensive insurance, or do you want to buy great identity theft protection with excellent monitoring and fraud resolution? The choice is yours. Remember to check out the video description for my latest recommendations and links to any deals that I know of. While IdentityForce is great, I'd recommend that you watch my Aura review if you haven't already. Their protection is comprehensive and priced to compete. Beyond that, I have tons of reviews and comparisons of identity theft protection companies right here on this channel, and I have tons more in the queue for you guys, so stay tuned.